What's good, people? What's good? What's good? How you doing? It's the first time I'm gonna go live on the Stewie Knows show. I just want to, let y'all see the face and get familiarized with me and stuff of that nature. Because I want to talk to y'all. I got some questions to ask. You know, I want to know. Like one of the topics I was coming up today, and shout out is have a great. I hope you're having a great. Let me start off by saying I hope you're having a great Memorial weekend. Right, I know it's been a little rainier in the New York in the tri-state area. But today kind of cleared up a little bit, but the grass is probably still wet. But if you're doing a cookout in the backyard, I hope you have a deck or some, cemented concrete where you can really enjoy the day. Let me start off by saying that first off, today is a good day. I know some people off for today, having a good time. Get some sleep. If you don't go outside, get some rest, because we back to work tomorrow for the most of us. Now, I don't know for everybody, but for most of us, we back to work tomorrow. So hope you're getting your rest in, getting some time to yourself and get to do the things that you need to do or handle, clean up your house. I think, godliness cleanliness is next to godliness. Clean up your crib. That's another thing too. Too many people out here with dirty houses. Stop that. You shouldn't be having a dirty house. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm sorry. I had to look for some stuff. I'm getting new to this. What I'm saying? I want to look cool a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Be on the live looking cool. You gotta look cool. Gotta look cool on the live. Shout out to my grandma in the back. That's my grandmother. Um, God bless her soul. She was a very influential in my upbringing. So I got to make sure I represent her as much as possible. That's my lady love right there. So now let's get to the nitty gritty. Um, one of the topics I had, I was upstairs. I was watching TV and I was watching the paternity test. Um, it was very funny and interesting to me because one of the things I kept realizing is seeing that these young ladies are accusing young men or saying that these young men are the father of the child, and come to find out they are not, and they're mad, which is kind of understandable to be mad because you're embarrassed, you're on TV, and you don't went so hard to say that this is the father of your child and everything like that. But the second thing is about I want to say is the mothers. Usually there were mothers that was there to support their kid on these situations, and the reason why I'm coming up with how much should how long should you defend your children. And this is why I came up with it, because I was sitting there, I was watching it, and I'm looking at the mothers, and the mothers is like, they going hard for their daughters. Just to sit there and say, hey, this is, he's the father. I know it's true. He was there. I seen them messing around. They've been messing around for a long time. I haven't seen nobody around her. All these things, right? And I was just like, okay, there's reason to believe that it's possible that he's not he is the father of that kid, because the mother is going so hard just as much as the daughter to prove the point. But what we come to find out is once the paternity test comes, it begs to differ. He's not the father. So now, as a mother, right? And I just want to know, as a mother, what do you say after that? One of the situations I saw where the mother was there, going tooth and nail and saying all these things and siding with her daughter. And then when the results came in, and it came to find out that he was not the father. She didn't have that same energy, right? The daughter was upset, wanted to go fight. Now, let me give you a backtrack story on this episode. This episode, the young man was not alive. He passed away, or whatever the case may be. He was no longer here. So he has representation. He has his mother and his sister come on the show to defend him, or as his representation of saying, going through this process of saying if he's the father or not. So now on the other side is the mother and the young lady who's sitting here saying that the young man that's no longer here, he's unalive, is the father of the child. And the mother is defending and co-signing what the daughter is saying. So, you know, we going, what the truth shall come to the light. So what happens is now the truth came out, the paternity test results came out, comes to find out that the young man that's no longer here is not the father. So now the sister, excuse me about that. Now it's coming to find out the sister is now like, okay, hold on one second. People call me about I'm busy. What's up? You know what I mean? Well, anyway, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. People calling me when I'm working. I tell them I'm gonna be busy, but sorry. But the truth comes out now. Pretty much, it comes out now. The young girl, the young lady that has accused the young unalive man that he's the father. The sister is saying, "See, I told you." She said what she had to say, which is I gotta respect because she did say that the baby wasn't his. There was certain issues that were going on during the time of that process that also the sister and the mother was like, I don't believe it. That's not true. When he passed away, the baby was not on the obituary. So it didn't seem like if that was the father, why would you not on the obituary that of his of his family member? So that was another issue, and she just has to check her past. So now the young lady that accused the young man that is no longer here, she got mad and she wanted to attack the sister. Now, what I didn't like was the mother who sat there and didn't say nothing. And I'm not accusing mothers in general, but I'm accusing the mother in this situation. Right? We have to be, as parents, we have to be responsible and also holding our kids accountable, right? We go always want to be there for them. I think it's we get across the line of being there for them and letting them take advantage. We have to do a better job of that. We can no longer just be there for our kids. Being there for our kids and not letting them take accountability is the worst thing we could ever do as a father, as a mother, as a guardian, or anything like that. Because sometimes tough love is the best love. I know in my lifetime that when my grandmother was like the weakest link, and a lot of people ran over her because she was a loving person and she didn't hold people accountable, her kids accountable, or people accountable in general. Where my grandfather was totally opposite. I love her to death, but my grandfather he was a different animal. He didn't care. You did what you did. I tried to help you out. You didn't want to do, so now you got to figure it out. And I think that's what we need to do to, get to the point where, as parents, and also hold our kids responsible. But like for me, I feel like I'll be more mad at my daughter because if I was the parent in that situation, I'd be like, oh, where you going? Get your butt over here. Why you going over there to be mad because you was wrong? Right? And I think we need to tell our kids you were wrong and you should change what you're doing because not everybody is the problem sometimes. It's your kids. And I think a lot of times what we do as parents, we don't want to see our kids be the bad guy. But sometimes they are. They the ones that's jacked up, not the other kid. Don't we always like to blame the other kid and be like, yo, this you shouldn't hang out with XYZ because they ain't no good. No, your kid ain't no good. That's what we gotta really get to. Your kid ain't no good. It's not the other kids, it's your kid. And when we realize that, I think we could do better as parents and start moving more forward and not allowing our kids to sit around and say, "Hey, I could do what I want because my mom and my father is going to always defend me." Now, if you're in the right, I'm going to defend you. That's me as a parent. I'm going to defend you. And one thing I do as a parent and raising two daughters, like if my oldest one, she does something, I want to know. Okay, so this happened. How did that happen? I'm not just going to sit here and say, hey, I'm not saying here and say I don't believe you, but I need to know full details of. And as an older person, I know certain things happen as a reaction to something else. There's always a cause and effect. So I always got to make sure that before I run down this lane of trying to figure out what's going on, I got to know that you did what you were supposed to do, right? You did everything in your powers to do what you were supposed to do, you know? And that's the problem. That is the problem there. I need to know if you did everything you were supposed to do. Now, if you did everything you were supposed to do, then I can't be mad. I gotta respect it. I gotta love you. Take whatever you said and you know, take it for for granted. And take your word for it because that's the most important thing for me to do as a father, as a person that loves you. You know what I mean? And that's it. I think we got to get back to that essence of being real good parents and understanding. Sorry, excuse me, real quick. Let me type something in real quick. I just want to make sure that I got everything right. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Right. So now I'm back. Sorry about that. A little bit. I had to make sure everything's a little tight. I had a little email to do. So sorry about that. But everybody want to bother me right now. But like I said, we got to do better as parents, and when we got to hold our kids accountable. I think accountability is the best thing that we could do for our kids at this stage in their lives, so as they get to teenagers, to let them know that I'm here for you, but I'm not going to be here for you for nonsense. You're going to have to be accountable and take responsibilities for your actions as you get older, because life gets harder. Um, it gets to the point where, as a parent, I'm preparing you so you don't need me. That's my biggest thing. And I think a lot of parents they preparing their kids to need them and to be clinging on to them. And I don't want that. I want my daughters to be able to be self-sufficient and not need me, because I want to give you every tool that I know. And I think that's what we should get back to. And I think that parents should have that ability. And not, your kid did something stupid. If they did something stupid, it's stupid. Don't make excuses. Don't blame nobody else. It's your kid. They did it. They did it. It was dumb. I tell my daughter all the time, like, sun go down, you get jammed up in it. That's your fault because you shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have been there. I'm letting you know you shouldn't have been there. If somebody's doing something stupid, you shouldn't have been there. And there's always a person that's around, not the person that's usually sometimes it's not the person that's doing, but the person around that always get caught up and jammed up. So with that being said, anytime somebody do something stupid, you get away from it. You go about your business, you go home. You do everything other than what the person is doing that's doing something stupid. Because when it goes down, you're involved. It's a wrap for you. And then you want me to come down here and save you. Because I told you earlier that look, stay away. Stay away. Now I understand, kids are gonna make mistakes. We all are gonna make mistakes. We all are. We human. You're gonna make mistakes. As an adult, you damn sure gonna make mistakes when you were young. But the difference is having parents that's gonna sit there and gonna guide you through it and help teach you lessons. Because if you don't teach our kids lessons, they're never gonna learn anything. Right? They're never gonna learn nothing. They always want to be stuck. They always want to be looking for your help. You're always going to need your help through everything because they never took accountability or never took the ownership to sit there and say, "Hey, I need to do it on my own. I got to figure this out." And I want to be the parent that's going to tell you, like, "Hey, it's possible. It may be hard, but it's possible for you to do the things that you need to do so you could be able to be successful in life." And that's all I want to teach you. That's all I want for you. That's all I want to give, the lessons I want to give you. And that's it. I don't want nothing else to do but give you that. If I give you that, I'm fine. If I help you through this transition, I'm fine. Because anything you go through, you can figure it out. Because you know why? You know how to take accountability for your actions. And we got to teach the kids to take accountability. Sometimes the tough, like I said, tough love is tough, is the best love. Without tough love, these kids ain't gonna learn nothing. You keep calling them, and then, when they get older, they think everybody's supposed to do shit for them. They get older, they think everybody is supposed to go my way. What I think is right. Because you know what? Because no one told them and showed them, say, hey, sometimes your way ain't always the best way. And sometimes what you thinking in is not always right. So let's see how this plays out. Let's see how we could get to from point A to point B, and we could figure these things out, and you make better decision making, be a better decision maker than possible. And that's what we need to get to. Being better decision makers, teaching our kids to make better decisions, teaching them how to do certain things on their own. So that way when they get older, they figure out how to make and fix things and be better at making decisions. If we don't teach our kids nothing, then what they gonna learn? You know? And we gotta stop with these little fast girls and these little fast boys and these street dudes, the street kids, and these parents out here talking about my son was a good kid. If something happens to your son and I don't want nothing to happen to nobody's kids, but if something happened in the street and we find out that he was a robber, he was a killer, um, he was a menace in the street, and then something happened to him, I don't want to hear you say my kid was a good boy, because ain't nothing good about him. And I don't want to hear of your daughter running the streets, doing with Tom, Jimmy and whoever, Tommy, whatever she's doing with these guys. I don't want to hear your daughter was a good girl, because she wasn't. And I understand as parents, we want to save face because we don't want to talk about our kids in a negative light, or look at our kids in that view. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. Don't tell me your kid is a saint and he was a menace. He was a terror. I don't want to hear that. I just don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. So let's get back to the basics. Let's get to the point where we hold our kids accountable. We hold ourselves accountable as parents. That's what's really important, because we have to give them the first knowledge of life. Everything they learn before they get out to the real world comes from us first. It comes from you. It comes from you. Like I used to, I ain't gonna lie to you. My grandfather used to get on my nerve. I'd be like, yo, why I always gotta clean up? Why I always gotta do this? Why I gotta do it? Why I gotta do this? But then as I got older, I understood it. Understood why he made me the way I am, because that's who I am now. That's why I don't mind getting up, going to work, busting my butt to do the things that I need to do. I don't mind it. My ambition is more than a lot of my family members. To be honest with you, I wasn't the most astute kid out of the family. Out of all my cousins, out of everybody. My cousin got a doctorate, the other ones got masters. I ain't got that. I got my regular degree. I got that. But you know what? I was the first one in my family in that from 12 Camp 1204. Out of all my aunts, uncles, and cousins was to buy a house. I was the first one to establish myself in a certain way because of the upbringing of my grandfather, the way he gave me, and what my grandmother installed in me. Those are the things that I appreciate the most. My grandfather he was a man's man. He didn't, he was a man's man. I give it to him 100%. He was a man's man. I understood it. I wish that, one thing I will say, his past and his last, I wish I could have been there, because I know that the kind of relationship me and him had. But I understood that he had kids that wanted to be more present and dominant, more, present at the moment, and I get it. I get it. It's this their father. But I know, like, he looked at me as I know that he probably wanted to see me before his passing, before he left. But that's another story. I ain't gonna try to get too deep with you on that one. But that's how I feel. But like I said, it's just about accountability. And anything that I did, and I'm not saying I'm perfect as a father or as a man personally, but anything that I ever did, I never did it and I blamed anyone else. I looked at myself and said I was wrong. Because that's where it has to start for. It has to start from you. And that's something that they installed in me, looking at yourself, reflecting on who you are. So that's the same thing we have to install in our kids. We got to give them that. We got to give them that. You're wrong. And just because I'm your father, that doesn't mean I'm always going to defend you when you're wrong. I'm not going to defend you when you're wrong. I'm going to point out the fact that you're wrong and let you know that I know that you're wrong. And let's not put ourselves in a situation again that you're wrong. Or if you do something, you realize I have to figure it out on my own. because my father's gonna hold me accountable. I want my daughters to know my father's gonna hold me accountable. It's not gonna look at me and say, "Oh, my little princess, Miss and that. How could you? How could they do that?" No, 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 no. I'm gonna look at you as a man. I'm gonna look at you because this is a tough world out here. They ain't giving us nothing. People is starving and struggling and everything like that. People don't care. They care about themselves. People care about what they can get and what they need. Not too much about the other person. So if that's what's going on, you have to move and be ready for whatever's coming in this world to you. And I want to give you that. That's all I want to say. I've been on this chat for how long? I've been running my mouth for a little bit. But this is the introduction to me. Um, I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of something for 24 minutes and 50 seconds. 20 minutes and 21 minutes or damn almost. But I just want to give you a brief introduction of what you're going to expect from this show. We're going to get a little bit of everything from you. We're going to talk about a little bit of seriousness. We're going to be a little goofy. We're going to be a little comedy. We're going to talk about fashion. We're going to talk about hip hop, entertainment. We're going to talk about trending topics. I want to get around to everything that goes on because that's the world we live in. And I want to be relatable to everything that goes because I'm not a one trick pony. I'm a human. And I got to worry about taxes, right? We got to worry about certain things that we, as a family member, as a father, health insurance. We got to worry about all these things because those are the things that are important to us at this stage at this stage in our lives. All the fun stuff is cool. I'm gonna give you that too. Don't think I'm gonna talk about them sports. I'm a basketball lover. I love basketball. I love football. Baseball is cool too. I like baseball. That's another thing. We got to figure out how to get us back in that baseball as prominent, as dominant as we was. That's another topic. We're gonna talk about that another time. But at this particular time, I just want to start off by saying, this is a brief introduction. This is something that was on my mind today. It's about something I saw on TV and I was watching. And I'm just like, yo, this has to change. The response from the parents has to be better. We have to have better responses. That's what it was on my mind. So I said, let me go live and let me talk about it. Let's see if other parents are on the same type of time that I'm on when it comes to this topic. Who agrees with me, who don't agree with me, that's fine. You can leave your comment. We could have a discussion, mature discussion. Everything is about being mature. You know, we could talk about everything. I'm an open book. Talk to me. If you feel something I said you don't like, let's talk about it. Let's get to the bottom of. Let's open this discussion so we can have a better outcome and a better outlook on life. So, like I said, thank you for tuning in. If whoever tunes in, this is going to be on occurrence thing. I'm gonna try to do every Thursday for the fans or the people that are not say fans, but the people that are interested in the conversations and the topics of the things that I talk about on this show. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna try to keep it clean. Make sure I come up here always look presentable because I want y'all to look at me and be like, I'm a representation of what I'm talking about. And that's it. I just want to say thank you. Tune in every Thursday for more conversations. And I might come through a little bit earlier because I might be talking about the NBA. So when I'm talking about the NBA, them game nights, be prepared. I'm gonna be here too. Be here for the game nights too. You heard? So we're gonna talk about the games for all my sports fans. Football season. We definitely gonna talk about that. I love football too as well. Let's see who's gonna win the Super Bowl. We're gonna have some great conversations about those things too as well. But like I said, thank you for whoever tunes in today. This is the Stewie Knows show, and this is something that I've been working on in conjunction with my other with the podcast 4400. My brothers from 4400. So this is it. This is something for me. You get to talk to me. I know if you watch, also watch the show. Watch 4400 show on YouTube as well. 4400. I'm also a host on that show. That's the real that's the big show right there. This is the extension of the show. But that's the show. 4400. You can get a lot more from me on that show because if you don't know who I am, if you're trying to figure out, that's the show to really figure out who I am and what my hot takes are. So let's build this community. Let's build a positive energy vibe here, and let's have a good time. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Thank you.